3.
D4. Miss. D8. Hit. Yes. E7. Miss. E8. You sunk my ship.
Woo! Battleship's a game, boys and girls, that's based on coordinates. Coordinates are what we're going to learn about in today's math lesson. You need to start with a grid. And for today, we're going to use this grid here. Grids actually have 4 quadrants. First quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. For today's lesson, we're going to concentrate on quadrant 1, but I want to tell you a little bit about the other ones just because you'll learn about this later on in middle school. Quadrant 1 are positive numbers, and I'll explain that in just a minute. Quadrant 2 is based on negative positive numbers. Quadrant 3 is negative numbers. And quadrant 4 is positive negative numbers. Your negative numbers come when you crossed over that origin point of 0. When you go to the left or you go below, you've gone into territory of negative numbers. But again, for today, we're going to stick with positive numbers in quadrant 1. So where do coordinates come from? Coordinates are a pair of numbers, and they're listed by the X and Y points on a grid. Well, where does the X and Y come from? Well, there's 2 axes on a grid. There's the X-axis, and then there's the Y-axis. So when we want to find a point on the grid, we list it by the X and Y numbers that are used to find that point. So let's start with, well, what numbers do we find on a grid? Well, all grids start with the origin, which is the center point of the grid. It's also 0. The origin is 0. Then your numbers go in increments of 1s, 2s, possibly 5s, possibly 10s. But for today's grid, we're going to go in increments of 1. So you can see that our numbers go 1, 2, 3. They increase by 1 on the x-axis and y-axis. So a coordinate is the x number and the y number and where they meet on the grid. So let's plot some coordinates. Peyton, can you help us plot 5, 5? If you'll notice, Peyton follows the x-axis first. You always follow the x-axis first, and you always write the coordinate with the x number first. Notice she writes 5, 5 with parentheses around them. Those are coordinate pairs. Peyton, would you find us 6, 4? Again, she follows the x-axis first, and then the y. She finds where they meet on the grid, and then she lists the coordinate pairs. 6, 3. Five, 2. X first, Y second, where they meet on the grid. Boys and girls, it's probably similar to following your multiplication chart. How about 4, 3, Peyton? While she plots these last two coordinates, coordinate pairs actually. Your last pair, Peyton, 4, 4. I want you to be thinking about where in life you see coordinate pairs. Maps, games like Battleship, your multiplication chart. You probably see them more often than you realize. Computer engineers, which is what you guys are going to be this week, they plot coordinate pairs into a computer program, and then they assign them a color, and then they create graphics, such as this one. Now our graphic today is a simple circle, not very complex. But if a computer engineer wanted a circle in his computer game, he would tell the computer program, plot these points, these coordinates, give them this color, and then it would create a graphic. And that's what you guys are going to do this week. You're going to plot coordinate pairs to create your own computer graphic or a computer graphic image that you've brought from home. Hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Let's get coordinated.